curious souls alike. Today we present to you two bright stars who are no stranger to community at all. But for a good measure, I would like to introduce the one and only, the CEO and founder of Bright Star Studios, Mark. Mark, please say hello.
Hi everyone. So yeah, my name is Mark Laursen, CEO and founder together with Joris here. Been here since 2018. I have a background in esports, helped start and run a lot of #1 organizations, both in the FPS, first-person shooters, also in MMORPGs, had a lot of success there. Transitioned over into making games, made a bunch of games that's been on Steam and other places, also a lot of stints in making engines, which we're doing here as well. So have a long history throughout. I'll give it over to yours.
All right, thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Joris, one of the founders. Been doing games since I was about 15, 16 years old. Very first game I tried to build was an MMORPG, which went terribly wrong because it's way too difficult for one person. But that made me fall in love with game development. So I've been doing that since I was 15. At some point ran into Mark and we started talking about doing another game. And obviously we were talking about an MMO, like go big or go home, right? And so I've had just about a little bit of every role in the company. I've done a little bit of programming. I've done a little bit of being a team lead. I've been the game director. I've been the art director. I've been the CTO, and now I'm the CDO. So I oversee basically the entire game development process, the creative side as well as the technical side.
Wonderful. And I myself am your humble host for Elite Community. You might know me better as Game Master across the various platforms. But today I'm sitting here truly with the legends of where it all started. For those of you listening for the first time, Mark and Joris, can you explain a little bit about, maybe you first, Mark, about who Bright Star is and how this star was born?
Of course. So Bright Star was born in 2018. We were a small group of gamers and kind of thought about the state of the industry and, thought that the model that's kind of being used today isn't really treating gamers fairly. So for all the time they spent in the game, or the games, and we really wanted to change the model and the way that people experience games and access games. We think there's a lot of barriers to gaming today, and we really connected on that when we met the first time. So we do this through our technology, our core gameplay values, and making the economy more transparent and giving the controls to the players. And we have a strong, diverse team spanning across the globe, and really, really passionate about bringing this to life. And we have a lot of experience in MMOs, both as players and as building them.
Yeah, I don't think I have too much to add to that one, so I think we can keep going.
Wonderful, wonderful. As you've said, and we've said multiple times, we have. I'm sure you have as well. We've been involved in many communities, and this is truly one of the best already. So early in the journey, and I mean we have been in this journey for a long time, but we're still very early in it, right? And we have over 500,000. Strong core community across all our platforms that are incredibly active, participating in fun community events like Fanabus Cups, competing for various prizes, submitting artwork, and fan fiction nonetheless. And it's incredible out there. They're even taking shots at fan fiction for nations that are less law out there about. It's amazing to see what they are really crafting with their minds and hearts in our community. We've had various tests throughout the years: tech test, demo test, playtest. The last one was in April, and let's touch a little bit upon that. Mark, how that went and what some of the learnings were.
Sure. I mean, obviously, it's always really exciting for us as founders to watch people actually play a slice of the game. It's really cool to see that everybody who works so hard in the game being able to see others actually play it and iterate it and engage with the things they're building. So it's really, really cool. And we had a lot of people go through. We had over 14,000 play sessions, and we had a really, really high rate in terms of people actually want to recommend the game to their friends. And it gave a lot of really good feedback in terms of controls and some of the other things we really want to iterate on, especially for the next playtest. We're gonna have some really big updates there that I'm quite sure that everybody's going to love.
We got so much positive feedback. I think about 90% of our users actually recommended it. They would recommend it to a friend. So that is way higher than I thought it was going to be, especially at this stage. So it's super cool to see how people are reacting to what we've made so far. And yeah, there's plenty more to come. So.
Right. I mean, I think we had over 160 countries interacting with the website. 12,000 players over the 3 days, even more play sessions. We did the Serius afterwards. Several thousands participated in it. We had 1.5 million views on the videos. So, tons of content going out from streamers, all that stuff is really, really cool. We had like my alpha moments. It's a lot of really fun ones there. I really loved checking those out on Twitter. And I think everyone who posted this had a lot of good humor out there. And it's very humbling, and we really learned a lot about it. So, and especially the feedback we got, as Joris mentioned, there's a lot to learn there, and we're truly improving based on that feedback. And we can only offer our really humble thanks to the community for giving us that. It's really warming.
So big thank you, and keep it coming.
Yeah, especially hearing all those numbers, that's really humbling. Like that's, I knew we had an amazing community, and I know you do too. But that's crazy when you put it together like that. They are really passionate. Talking about that, we released something else they're really passionate about lately, which is the Whitepaper. And I mean, if they're not asking for launch, they're asking for Whitepaper. I can tell you that out there on the various platforms. So now it's out there, the first version of it publicly. And we're here today to start taking some shots at the Whitepaper, answering some of those burning questions, and who better to do this than the two of you. So what else are we going to talk about? We're going to talk a little bit about the engine, land ownership, land sale, and then at the end we have some quickfire rounds with a little bit of random questions in there. I know we have some funny ones in the end. So again, thank you so much. It cannot be stated. Thank you for all the questions you've submitted. And keep that coming, because we have a bot on Discord 24/7, 7 days of the week, going all the time, where you can submit questions, and we will pick those questions for future AMAs, Q&As, developer streams. So if you have a question, leave it there. And if you're not sure how to get there, then I'm sure there are amazing people of the core community in Discord that will help you if you simply go into the chat and ask them. They will direct you. So let's get to it. First of all, a question of mine. Mark, you did some amazing tweets about the character creation. So let's go a little bit more into that.
Yeah.
Let's turn it out. My bad. Sorry. Let's turn it over to you.
All good. We'll have a character customization tool, so you can customize character the way you like, change the hairstyle, the skin color, your body type, etc. Other than that, we don't lock you into the character customization that you've created, so you can actually change it later in the game still. That is kind of our core philosophy for the entire game, also with, for example, weapons and things like that. So you don't pick a class when you make your character, you just pick a weapon and that defines your playstyle, and then if you want to change your weapon at some point, you can just play with that, right? The same thing applies to your character look. You can change it along the way and change factions, for example, and things like that. And then further, you can customize your character with all the cosmetics that we have in the game.
Oh my god, I'm so much looking forward to that. I'm one of those players who spend maybe 10 hours just creating your character to begin with, so that's wonderful. And if you're curious about that tweet I just talked about, you can just go into our Twitter profile on Ember Sword. We always we tweet Mark's wonderful tweets, and sorry, Mark, but you have those, when you tweet, it's always those golden beats about what's happening in the journey. Moving on from there, in the playtest, there was some experience, like, it was the first time you got to fight what some of our community called bosses. You got to experience the combat system, and especially Steel Slice, and I don't know how to pronounce it, you might correct me, Joris, but Pooh, however you want to pronounce it, and they thought they were bosses, so take me through some of that, because I've been told they're not bosses.
These were... We kind of have a distinction between bosses and what we call, like, party creatures. So a party creature is just something you need to take with a party, like a 4 people, whereas a boss is like a full-on experience, and you're going to take several minutes to take that boss down, right? So we are, I can't say too much, currently working on some cool stuff, and there might be, a boss or two in there that players can fight and have a truly kind of like epic experience in that boss fight.
Oh well, there was some spoilers there. We're looking forward to that. So if you thought Steel Slice was nice, just know it wasn't a boss per se. So look forward to those bosses. Even though I think Steel Slice got me once or twice, I think it's even on stream. So that's nice.
Just wait for the new one.
Exactly. Mark, moving over to you. What about the international players? Because we have community everywhere.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I had in some of my tweets as well, we want the latency or the ping or the lag, how you want to put it, want it to be as low as possible. So for as many as people as possible, and we're going to go more into that once we open the doors a bit more to more players this year. We will have servers in other regions, which should hopefully reduce the latency as much as possible. Of course, we are looking for the game to, in total, for it to be as low latency as possible, as we do also want it to have like a more of a competitive side. And if you want a competitive side, you really need to have really good networking, and that's one of your strong sides. So it's definitely something that's going to come.
Looking very much forward to that. So that is very great. In the playtest, I was looking through some of the feedback, tons of feedback, amazing feedback, and players everywhere are loving it. But some of the specific comments I found was a majority of players saying that they love the Solarwood environment, the overall feeling of Solarwood. I think that's really important, right? That's a really important mark to kind of take off. And then they like the instant accessibility and the instinctive gameplay. I think that's very telling also for this stage, as you talked about Joris being in alpha. That's a very good place to be in terms of feedback. And then they said there was a majority of players saying that it felt like a core starting foundation for MMO fun, mentioning things like leveling, harvesting, crafting, killing mobs, which are, if not the only things, a basic foundation for MMO fun, right? So I think that's a great place to start for an alpha. Really good head start there. And then some specific quotes that I picked that I just couldn't help myself with was somebody says, "Oh my God, what a relief to finally be able to walk freely in Fanabus." And I think that's amazing, that one. Even because, there's much more to come, right? And then my favorite one is, "Not even hyping and latency could keep the Ember Sword nostalgia at bay." Just testament to what you just said, Mark, that our international players were not kept back by this playtest. They fought hard to get in there and enjoy that experience. Speaking about that experience, let's touch upon the UI and interface visually. Joris, maybe you can talk about that and being able to travel via the maps in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right now, all of our UI is temporary. So this is what we would call programmer art. It's going to look a lot nicer. So right now it's really just about, making things sure things are functional, make sure things will work, playtesting things, making sure the game's actually fun, etc. Because especially UI is one of those things that changes a lot throughout the game development process. So if we did this in the beginning and then at some point we decided, no, the player should have 20 combat abilities instead, right? Then we have to redesign the entire UI. So it would be a lot of wasted time and effort. So right now, just functional, it's going to look nicer. As for like fast traveling and things like that with the map, players will be able to fast travel between cities. Just the cities for now, capitals as well. There might be some other like traveling options along the way that I also can't really dive into too much. You need to have fast traveling, right? Yeah. Because like first rule of game design, generally speaking, is walking isn't gameplay. Right? Nobody wants to travel for 10 minutes to get into a fun adventure. So you need fast traveling, but at the same time, you can also ruin the game a little bit if you allow people to just teleport all over the place and never walk anywhere, because you never run into anything, right? So we also want to make sure that you run into a fun adventure and that things happen as you're kind of traversing, exploring the terrain, so to say.
I love that. Yeah, so it doesn't become a walking simulator.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah, games these days are so big. Like if you see a mountain and you want to go there, it's gonna take you forever, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so talking about the playtest, let's just round it off with talking about the ending of the playtest, because that was some ending. And for those of you who don't know, by the last hour of the playtest, we were kind of like joking about doubling the capacity to see what would happen, right? Those are the kind of things you want to do at the end of a playtest. We've been working really hard. Everything's been going super smooth. And the leadership team made the amazing call, I think, much to the dismay of one of them, without mentioning any names. We opened it up, and it was, you know who I'm talking about. It was crazy mayhem. People flocked to the PvP arenas. It was glorious. Specifically, I remember it was 11 p.m. here in Denmark, and I was woken up by Thomas from Infrastructure, who called me and was like, "We want to do this." And I was lying sleeping on the couch. I was like, "Okay, that sounds like a good idea. Let me turn my PC on." And it was just chaos. I loved it. I went in there to the starting area of Millweed, and I just wrote like "Let's dance," and everybody was just dancing in the starting area. It was super awesome. Wow, what a way to end it.
Pretty fun. I mean, especially the PvP arena in the end. I was jumped in there to check out what's going on. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like it's a one big chaotic battle.
Yeah, I saw you in the arena. I remember I found a cliff because I was tired of getting beaten on. I had made a new account. That's my excuse, by the way, guys, for low level. So I jumped on a cliff and I was like standing looking at the arena, and I saw you running around in there, fighting people in the arena. And a guild charging in, I think, one of our guilds in our core community, Soultray, I think, charged in there with 3 members. Amazing stuff. And I think one of the programmers in very high level, I think, really owning that PvP, if I remember correctly. Yes.
You joined there with my level 99 as well.
Okay. So. Okay, yeah. That's how you do it, right? That's the perks you get. All right. Let's move on. Let's move on to the engine. So let's start with a community question here. Del Watson wants to know, I'm interested in Serius game engine. How does it work, and how is it different from other engines?
That's a very big question, but I'll try to narrow it down a little bit. The primary part for the gamer itself is instant accessibility, right? So it's really built around the concept of streaming. So you can get in the game in just 5 seconds. That's kind of our internal goal of making sure that people get in the game quickly. So it doesn't matter if it's your first time playing or you haven't played in 6 months and there's been a million updates, just 5 seconds and you're in the game. The way we're doing that is really trying to compress things very aggressively so your game client has to download very little. So we're not doing video streaming, right? So there's been a lot of projects that do video streaming, which basically means that, if I try to jump on my client, it sends a signal all the way to a data center, it jumps in a data center, and then it sends back the video. And the downside with that is you get a lot of additional input latency because the signal needs to travel to a data center and back. You get a lot of video compression artifacts because it sends back an actual video rather than the game being rendered on your client. And so that has a lot of downsides. So what we're doing is we built a game engine that it's written in C++, and we compile it down into what's called WebAssembly, which runs directly inside of your browser. So the whole game is being run on your local client. And then we're doing a lot of kind of nifty trickery with compressing things as aggressively as possible. So right now, the game engine plus all of the gameplay code, all of the code for Ember Sword, plus all of the engine-specific things for rendering and sound and all that sort of stuff, combined is about 3.5 megabytes compressed. So that's the entire engine and all of the gameplay code, right? And then for all of the additional things you need to download, like the trees, the animations, the music, etc., that's about 25-30 megabytes. So you can basically get in the game with 30 megs of initial load, and then you can just continue to run through the game, and it kind of figures out where you're going, and then it streams that area in before you get to it. So it's sort of like watching a YouTube video, right? You don't download the entire video, you just stream a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. We're doing kind of the same thing, but just then in 3D space. So it's a fairly tricky problem to solve. Very fun one to solve at that. But the cool thing about that is you can always get in the game super quickly. You can stream in anything, so it's also extremely flexible with what you stream in. We can patch the game very easily, so if a walking animation's broken, we can just upload a new animation, and the next time your client runs into that animation, it can just fetch the new one, right? And we've even prototyped with this where we can hot reload things while the game is running. So for example, animation changes, we tell the game client, hey, something changed, go update. It gets a new animation, it reloads it in the game, and you can just keep going, right? So this is super valuable during the development process because you don't have to constantly make a new build, you don't have to constantly stop and start playing, etc. You can just keep going, keep iterating, keep updating. So that's kind of the core gist of it. I hope that made sense. I tried to keep it very simple.
Oh, just that. By the way, when Joris says... Oh, sorry, go, Mark.
Well, if you think about patching, So, like, having played World of Warcraft or some of these other games, they have like a whole day usually, or at least like 12 hours or more, where they do patching or like weekly updates and stuff like that. And, you know, with our technology, you actually don't have to do that. So it's always online, and we can do the patches live, which is what you're saying, which really makes it
In
awesome.
some cases, we can do them live, not always. So there's some. So there's. I just want to preface, right? So there's some like
Always.
backend.
Always.
Not always. So there's some like backend services, right? Like a database update, for example. Like that just requires us to take the service down, update the database, put it back online. That we.
Content. So if you add more to the world,
Yeah, so some things do require us to take down the service, but in quite a few cases we can just patch it, and potentially even patch it live.
What I'm hearing is when Joris says something is fairly tricky, I get the feeling that it's very tricky and only something a few people in the world could do. That's my feeling. When Joris says something is fairly tricky, I like okay, it's good we have skilled people working very hard on this. Talking about, we have another question from Psych Panda. I love that name. Who asks, will it stay as a browser app, or will the game eventually be released with an app launcher?
So right now, all browser based. However, a lot of the kind of like browser oriented game tech is really built around purely the browser, so you're kind of stuck within that ecosystem. Our entire code base is C++, which is kind of like the go-to language for writing native applications for like desktop and for mobile, etc. So we're not limited to just the browser. We can go to desktop, we can go to console. One of our developers actually tested it on a Steam Deck.
That's true.
And it just worked. We'd never tested it. We'd never optimized it. We didn't even know it worked. And he just, went there on his browser and it just ran at 60 FPS and it just worked. Right?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the magic of using an existing open infrastructure and just relying on that. So I definitely think there's a bit of a future there, but depending on how things work out, we can definitely go for native applications or stick to the browser. So time will tell, I think.
That's just incredible for me that someone opened that up and it just worked, and this is alpha freaking development, right? This is.
I mean, I certainly was not expecting that. I don't think anyone was. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so moving on for that, we are slowly descending towards Whitepaper talk, Whitepaper area, and land sale area. Because at this time, those who have installed the teaser will know that the land sale, solo with alpha land sale, is inbound. So one of the first questions is from Hot Durian, who asks, I think this one is from you, Mark, is the Ember tokenomics finished?
Oh, so... Great question. So, of course, we have some really cool news here. Actually, over the next few days, the white paper with further details on the tokenomics will be updated, and then benefits of land ownership will also get an update. So there'll be a lot there in terms of tokenomics. And I think that personally that we're doing a lot of things here that I haven't seen in other places. And we're always thinking about how can these things mostly benefit the community and, of course, all of us. And we have different ways of going about that.
Wonderful. Kind of in the same... ballroom, I want to say we have a question from Ronnie, and there's going to be a lot of questions from Ronnie. He's very active in the community, and we love his questions. And he asks, when will you do token release / sale?
We will do it during beta. So you can see the roadmap in the white paper for reference, which again will be updated very soon. So it's 0.7 right now. We're going to update it to 0.8. And of course, as we go further towards a closed beta and open beta, we will update those more with more details and everything.
Wonderful. Okay, then moving even more towards the land sale. Very exciting part. So, and again, I just want to reiterate, I was hired during the last land sale. That was crazy. Now we're at the next land sale, and I can't wait. I'm very excited about this. So let's take a quick look back into the past. What is your vision for the land sale, Mark, in Ember Sword? And let's talk about the first sales.
Oh, well, as gamers ourselves, of course, we always wanted Ember Sword Land to be unique in that it's directly tied into the gameplay with a distinct goal of making the game better for everyone. So in all MMORPGs I've played, World of Warcraft, Lineage, Darkest Camelot, EverQuest, all of it, all the cities, the towns, the capitals, and so on, they never changed. I think in World of Warcraft, I think for like a decade or something, nothing had changed. added a bit of a harbor for one of them. So there's practically zero change, right? And we wanted to change that, kind of create this more like live, ever-changing world by allowing the players to own and run the lands, because it just makes it feel a bit more alive. And I thought it also felt a bit dead, that nothing really changes. It's the same vendors, it's the same people, it's the same things placed the same places. And I think that our model will make everything into like a more alive and kind of like vibrant world. And of course, all the landowners will be able to benefit in various ways. No pay to win, of course, but by owning land, and for those who actively make the land dynamic and exciting, they will see more benefits as well. So you'll have the opportunity to not only shape your unique corner of the world, but also be rewarded for your efforts, which is like one of our core values that we want to share with the community. So we all all boats rise with the tide. And referencing the first sale, it was quite crazy. We sold in a matter of hours. But of course, our process is always an industry first approach. We did the whole application process thing, which I hadn't really seen anywhere for it before. And that was mainly to be sure that the players we actually sold these things to would actually be interested in building something amazing in partnership with us. So we're trying to limit people who, are only buying it, not really with an interest in the game itself or to develop it. And by doing that, we actually had over 30,000 applicants, and we spent weeks reading through them before we found the right ones to get it out to.
That's a crazy number. Okay.
Yeah, it took quite a while to dig through all of those, and to have a fair process to screen all of them. So this time we're actually going to do something similar. So the first round will be we have 2 rounds this time. So we have the application process where people can fill out an application, exact same time as the last sale. And then after that, we have the second wave, which is kind of a free-for-all. So if you didn't make it in the application process, it's going to be a fun bit of chaos.
Yeah.
If you were here in the previous sales, it was a fun time.
It's good to embody a little bit of chaos, right? There was a certain series where somebody says chaos is a ladder. This is a ladder for a land plot, right? Somebody will...
There's always only so many spots, first come, first serve.
Yes.
So it's always ready to act.
All right, so talking about some of those plots, and I'm sure while I go through some of this and ramble a little bit about it, when we are live, there'll be someone in the chat, most likely future me, who will be spamming links to the white paper, so you can go in and check for yourself in the Medium post. But we have 4 different land plots you can apply for or aim to buy in that first come, first serve. There's the regular plots, of course, that you've also been able to win in various Fanopus Cups and community tournaments and giveaways, where you can call yourself a sir or lady. How about that? If you own that particular regular land plot, and you also have a multiplier of 1 per plot for the trading, your share in the trading of Ember Sword. Then there's the settlement plots, where you get to call yourself Baron or Baroness. Who wouldn't want to be called a Baron? And you get to build tier 1 buildings, which you can read more about in the white paper and the Medium post. And there's a multiplier of 10 per plot for the share of Ember Sword. Moving on from here, it only gets crazier and crazier. We have the town plots with the title of Earl and Countess, tier 2 buildings, and a multiplier of 50. And it also says you can, with a town plot, add premium shops. I don't even know exactly what that is, but it sounds incredible. And then, of course, the favorite, the cities. The Duke and Duchess title. And yeah, exactly, Mark. And tier 3 buildings, if you want the truly extreme buildings, granting a whopping 125 multiplier for your share in the trading. And with a city plot, you can also add premium shops. I'm really happy about these premium shots. Okay, we have so many questions. We can only get to so many today. Let's move on from here. Joris, take it away.
I mean, I think you kind of summed it up already there, but just to get it quickly reiterate, right? You can build on settlement plots and up, so settlement, town, city. You'll be able to provide things like quests for players, so you can create a fun environment for people and kind of lure them to your land. For the towns and cities, you can build even more on it. So, like you mentioned, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Including cities with teleportation stations, so you can get people to fast travel to your land, get them more quickly to your land, specifically for the cities. So
I love it. especially the teleportation building. That's oh my god. That takes me back.
There's going to be a lot more information there, so we're going to share a lot more about everything regarding land and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, there's one for you here, Joris. It's from Snilak, who wants to know: can you buy land that's in the middle of a PvP zone, or influence is to where you choose where the land around? Yeah, okay, so it's basically around PvP and PvE. I've seen these questions before. Can you buy in a PvP zone?
So you can't do that, and the reason for that is your land is considered like a safe zone.
Yeah.
As soon as you introduce PvP there, it adds a lot of complexity to the entire situation. You can, however, buy a piece of land very, very, very close to PvP territory, even on the border of PvP territory.
Oh yeah.
So you could basically like take 2 steps and you're in PvP territory. So that is definitely a thing. However, your land itself is still within the safe zone.
So your land is safe, but when you walk out with your morning coffee, you land to
then you're
PvP.
dead.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly. I love it. The perfect balance of order and chaos, right?
Exactly.
Here's one for you, Mark. It's Necronx, who asks, how many months did it take to finalize the white paper? Just out of curiosity, I'm not sure if it can be said, but I believe something like that would take a long time.
Oh yeah, I mean, good question. Well, I mean, since 2018, pretty much, we've been continuously working on it since the beginning, and we'll continue to evolve on it, as the game evolves as well. I think it's always good to be able to reiterate, and of course, there's always a lot of things happening, both in the world and with the technology itself that we're using behind. So we always want to make sure that we're on top of that, making sure that everything we do is for the benefit of the players.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, 5 years. You want to count it from the beginning.
Yeah, it's been some journey already, huh? It's so awesome, and you can see so many projects out there where the land has little to do with the gameplay, but as you can clearly hear from this AMA, that's not the case here, not at all entirely. In fact, it's the opposite. And I think that's really exciting. From a community manager perspective, it truly puts an interesting spin on how to manage the community and how in-game and off-game community blends together and how it all comes together and interesting opportunities and challenges. I love it. Let's see here. I have a final land ownership questions from Ronnie again, who asks, and I think this might be for you, Joris, will land plots around the capital have a big advantage if all the trades are happening there? Or do trades happening in the capital not count?
They do count. So the placement of your land plot will play a role in it. However, we try to encourage and reward players that facilitate gameplay loops as much as possible. So if you, for example, own a town very far away from the capital, and you're facilitating a lot of the gameplay loops and you're luring people to your land, and there's a lot of trades happening there, it will pretty close to balance out.
All right. That makes sense. Okay. Let's see. Are you guys ready for some quick-fire round of questions?
I'm ready.
All right.
Hit it.
Okay. So, getting up in gear. Actually, the first one is from Gear 5. And he asks, he or she, they ask, how do I get a job at Brightstar? That's a good question.
Okay. Well, we have all the job listings on embersword.com, or brightstarstudios.com. There's also LinkedIn. Especially currently, we are very much looking for programmers. So if you're a very experienced C++ programmer, go to embersword.com, definitely apply, and we will reach out.
All right. That was a very good point.
Looking for good engineers, especially.
Yeah.
Good engineers, yes.
Engineers and programmers, we need you to help build Ember Sword. Okay, we have a question from Tobias Senpai. Maybe he's the one we need. Will there be pets implemented, for example, Whiskers, to follow you around? And I gotta remember we have Whiskers here in the background. I'm pointing wrong, but Whiskers is lurking in the background here, guys, if you want to say hello. But yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, we will have pets, and mounts as well, actually. Whiskers will be a part of that.
Oh.
It's a little bit of a surprise, so we kind of want to keep it a little bit under wraps now. But yeah, we will have pets and we will have mounts, and there will be something with Whiskers.
Oh my god, I love Whiskers. Always turns up these questions. Sorry, Mike. What?
No, I was gonna say, yeah, leave them to wonder a bit here.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. All right, moving on from pets and whiskers. There's a question from Orlox who asks, will PvP be a major part of Ember Sword? Also, can we expect guild wars in the future?
PvP is a pretty large part of Ember Sword. We have open world PvP, so basically that means that the center of the map is a PvP territory. So there you can have all the way from 1v1 all the way to like 100v1, like crazy chaotic things going on. Big guild fights, yes, absolutely.
Oh, I'm sure we're gonna go more into that in the future. There's another one from Ronnie. Okay, this one is a long one. I'll just read it out first. How does upgrading cosmetics work? Will I create a better / rarer version of the burnt collectible, or will I receive a totally new one of higher rarity? When there is a hard cap on all collectibles, I wonder where the newly created collectibles will be coming from.
Okay. So you let me see. You take a couple of. Let me give a very concrete example, so it's very clear, right? So let's say you have a specific cosmetic. They come in different tiers. So tier 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say you have 10 capes of tier 1. You can take a couple of those. It depends on the line of cosmetic, but in this case, let's say it's 6. So you take 6 of the tier 1. You burn those 6, and you get a tier 2 of that line of cosmetic. So it's a visual upgrade from the previous one that you burned, right? So it's not a completely random one. It's a visual upgrade to the next tier. Let's see. There was another part of the question. Did I get all of it?
Let me see here.
Well, I can give a bit of an example is if they know Counter-Strike, there's these like trade-up contracts, of course, where you merge a bunch of cosmetics or skins in this case that have the same rarity, and then you get a new one, but the other ones get destroyed. In this case, they would get burned.
Yeah, I love that, and I love the examples, and I love that it isn't random. I really think that's important for the community. They can trust it, right? Tangible and trust.
I know. That's one part of the question. Ronnie asked if where the new one comes from.
Yeah.
Right. So it's effectively minted on demand. However, when we mint all the tokens, so let's say just 10,000 of the tier 1, we can already calculate now if you need 6 to go to tier 2. We know how many tier 2s there can be. If you then need to combine, for example, 4 to go to a tier 3, we know how many tier 3s there can be. So we can already kind of balance out the economy that way. The nice thing about this is if you have, for example, a whole bunch of tier 1s and you merge them together, or you burn them and create a new one, you deflate the amount in the circulation that there is, right? So you effectively make it more rare, and then you make one of a higher tier, which is also more rare. So it works in both directions. So that will help balance out the economy a little bit better, and really create more of a rarity in cosmetics. And people can choose themselves if they want to merge or not, or leave it as is, etc. Right? So it's really free market acting on these cosmetics.
That feels very much in the spirit of Ember Sword, and I kind of like that full circle. Then suddenly, if a lot of people do that, burn them and upgrade, then you will be sitting with a tier 1 that's suddenly very rare, right? Potentially.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah. I love that. I love that aspect of it. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. We have a question from Kane, and hello, Kane. Wonderful member of our community. He asks, from the white paper, what does game rewards / emissions refer to? Is it related to play to earn mechanism? This has never been mentioned before, if I'm not mistaken, ?
Oh, good question. So, I mean, first of all, I would say it's not really play to earn. I mean, it's playing to have fun, as with any hobby. And, it's a game with a robust economy that players control their own destiny in. And in terms of where the rewards and what they are alluding to how you will earn the token Ember in the game, which could be through completing encounters like in PvP or PvE, or achievements, or maybe you're the first one to slay a new boss or complete a dungeon, all these different things. And there's going to be different types of the rewards here. It could be dynamic. Some of them will maybe just be for the first ones who does it, and other ones will be continuous. We're going to elaborate more on that, of course, as we get closer towards release.
Makes a lot of sense. We have a question from Turkish Boss 69. If I hold more than a kind of badge in one wallet, can I claim tokens for each of them with the same wallet? Example, having 3 gold badges in the same wallet, claiming that's $7,500 value of tokens. I think that's for you, Joris.
Yep, you can claim all 3.
Okay, so boiling it down, it's essentially if you have multiple badges, you can claim for all of them.
Absolutely.
That's good to get that out of the way. I've seen those questions in Discord before. We also have one here. Why do you believe a premium currency like Ember is advantageous for the game?
Well, I mean, first of all, it gives you an open and transparent economy, and it's a more decentralized approach as opposed to legacy games with centralized economies where you usually can't go outside the economy, which means that they have to use shady forums or middlemen to trade. So having all that contained in a public token really limits fraud, from buying counterfeit items or getting scammed by a middleman, or it puts everything out into the open. And I mean, having played other games, I mean, you can play pretty much all games, all the popular games. They all have huge markets where people trade on forums. Some of them worth billions. So these things are happening. A lot of players don't really know that they're happening. There's just something they think that some people do on the side a little bit, or they don't do at all. But it is happening. It doesn't really matter what type of game it is. If people can somehow trade their accounts or the items somehow, they are going to do it in a forum. And it's a huge economy. And personally, I've always wondered about economies in a lot of MMORPGs I played, And sadly, that's just never been public. And the centralized authorities, they refuse to share anything. So for those who don't know, our digital in-game token is known as Ember.
Yep.
And Ember is the primary on-chain token that drives Ember Sword's ecosystem. And it serves as a gateway to a world of land ownership, cosmetic features, user services, and other unique digital collectibles that are going to be tied to the token.
Yep. And I think it's also worth mentioning, right, that anything you purchase within the game using Ember tokens, it doesn't give you an in-game competitive advantage. So you can't buy levels, for example, or the best sword in the game. They're purely cosmetic. They look cool. You can buy land plots, for example, things like that. As Mark said, like in-game services, things like that. But they don't make you better. You cannot buy levels. We do not like pay to win. It's just something we don't do.
Yeah, I think that cannot be stated enough as a philosophy of all of us. And I think if you want to read more about this, there's the white paper, right, that is out on the website. And also, I know you've published several blogs throughout the years, articles about this, Mark, and your whole philosophy behind this. So you can go out and read. Wonderful.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
I think
you
want to read one of the good ones. It's the one I posted a while ago. It's called The Inherent Value of Games, which I truly believe in.
I think that's a good read. So if you're interested in that, you should go out and read that. That's very insightful. We have a question from, I was about to say Weirdo, but it says Weedo. We have a question from Weedo. What is the utilities of badges that I can see on OpenSea? So this is maybe like a new community member.
Of course. So the badges are really for early adopters who believe in the project. In the beginning, they got a way to participate in the badge sale, and badge holders get first access to play sessions, to priority in land sales, and they'll be able to release a certain amount of tokens once we release the token to the public. That's pretty much that in a nutshell.
All right, let's see here.
And I could say that I alluded to a little bit that we will have some really, really cool rewards for the future, especially for those that have been loyal holders of both badges and land. And we really appreciate those holders so much. I mean, they've been with us since the beginning. And I can't really wait to announce the awesome rewards that we're going to have for them soon. So can't say more yet.
Yeah, we don't want to get in trouble. Let's see here. Okay, let's talk about what's next for Ember Sword. We've talked about a lot of genius things in here. And we have Ronnie again asking, how will the next, thank you, Ronnie, how will the next playtest look like? Will there be multiple dungeons? Oh, new abilities. How long will a dungeon run last? Spill the beans, Joris.
Ronnie's been busy. Thank you for
Shout
all
out
the
to
questions, Ronnie.
Yes.
Shout out to Ronnie. So we are currently working towards the next playtest session. So here we are trying to create more of an isolated player experience, whereas previously we had the open map, so you could go in all directions. We are very much a sandbox game, right? So you can do whatever you want, go in every direction, explore everything. For this playtest session, we tried to direct things a little bit more to try and make sure people have a, how do I say, specific player experience, right? So it's going to be about anywhere between like 15 to 30 minutes, depending on how experienced you are as an MMO player. There's going to be some, or should I say, potentially some boss fights in there. We talked about bosses before. So it's going to be... sorry?
With a cool dynamic system.
Yeah. So it's going to be a bit more of a controlled experience for the player, but it's going to feel a bit more epic to the player as a whole, because we can kind of direct like, oh, cool things are going to happen at this moment, etc.
I love that. Okay, can't wait with those dungeons and those bosses. Okay, we got a question, and we're nearing the end here, from Canary Pistol, who says, who asks, will developers include a ChatGPT based character or other AI features on NPC dialogue, etc.?
So right now we're not actively using it, primarily because it's extremely expensive. These AI models run on really expensive GPUs. If we were to do this for every NPC in the game, our cloud cost would be like millions of dollars tomorrow, right? So it's unfortunately not there yet. However, I do think AI is super cool, and it can definitely aid us in the development of Ember Sword. So for example, help writing quests, help iterate, or even just like brainstorm ideas, right? So to just quickly try things out, see what works, see what doesn't work. So we are definitely looking to use it for that. AI is also very interesting for programming. I loved it when it came out. You know, all the programmers were like, "Oh, my job is going to be the last one to to go," and then it was kind of the first one where like, "Oh, it actually works really well for code." So that was super fun. So definitely looking to use it more for code and things like that, and kind of automate the menial tasks of programming and things like that, and like writing documentation, things like that is stuff that AI can actually do quite well now. So definitely looking to use it and experience or experiment with it and see how we can implement it. But at the end of the day, it's important to make a fun game with kind of a creative touch from the creative people that work at Brightstar, right? So at the end of the day, AI is there to support, not to take over our jobs and replace our own creativity.
I think that's a good quote. There to support, not take over. I think that's actually one of the most wholesome and holistic quotes about AI I've heard in a while. That makes so much sense. Thank you, Joris. One of the last questions, actually the last question for today, but potentially the most important one, is from 4JPJ101, who asks, and let's start with you, Joris, what is your favorite mob or character being added to the game?
It's Shock. And
that was a name?
And the question is, what or who is Shock? And I'll just say Shock might be one of the bosses in the upcoming player experience. I'll say that.
I love it. I love it. What about you, Mark?
Well, I'll pick one of the more obscure ones. I really like the ones called Urkadors. I don't know if I'm butchering your name or not, but I think they're quite cool, a bit like horror-ish, which I really, really like, and I think they're quite fun.
I'll just test it. This, yeah, it's a very heavy GIF, but let's see how it loads. Yeah, there you have it. It's so creepy. It's just lurking, launching towards you, this otherworldly ghoul creature, right? You might be laughing, yours, but I think this is super creepy. Oh, that's awesome. You'll be seeing way more of Urkador, I'm sure, in the future, lurking towards you. Those are some good ones.
Much cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like, playing around, checking it out. I really think that everybody did an amazing job on it, and I really can't wait for people to try it out.
So true. If just they knew what's coming for them, right? But yeah, exactly. But here you got a little sliver of it. So we are nearing the end here, and before we kind of round it off, I just want to know. Let's start with you, Mark. Is there anything you would like to say to the community? Anything here at the end you would like to that you forgot to maybe bring about, or we didn't circle around with the questions here in the end?
I mean, all I can say is that we're always listening for feedback. We have a lot of updates coming out for the game, based especially on the feedback we had from the alpha. Yep. So once we do the new test, please be sure to put in as much feedback as you can. Really be detailed about what you like and don't like, because we're taking it into consideration. And we're really spending a lot of time, canvassing both the Discord and the Twitter to see what people kind of think and what they have for opinions. So even if we're not engaging directly, we're always listening out there. So please be as vocal as possible, and come with some good descriptive ideas or feelings about how you think stuff should run, and we are happy to take a listen.
I think that's a very good point. What about you, Joris? Something you want to say here in the end to the community?
I mean, just to add to Mark's comment, we're counting on you, Ronnie. Keep them coming. Yeah.
And I think you actually had more questions that I picked today. Sorry, Ronnie. I'll pick it for the future. Great. Yeah, we'll be back as well. Talking about being back, we have a playtest more this year that's coming, so stay tuned for that. And if you thought the last one was crazy, well, you've heard some slivers here already that this one is going to be pretty incredible. We also have very, very soon both VIP Wednesday returning, where we weekly broadcast updates on development, work in progress updates from art, level design, programming, etc. Really tying together a monthly developer stream cycle that we want to bring forth, where it's all about bringing most of what we can, the journey to you, the community, showing the progress to you, engaging with you about all the amazing things development is doing every day that we just want to show you. And it's crazy. All those, we'll talk more about it, in the developer streams. We'll bring it there. Then, of course, we are talking a little bit to the future right now. So at this point, land sale will be announced. So I also want to say, go out there and get your land. Here you had some of the reasoning why you should go there and get your land. So think about what you want. Do you want to be Baron? Do you want to be a Duchess? Do you want to be Sir? Go out there, get your land. We'll continue to bring you even more amazing news and announcements. And then let's just end, gentlemen, by thanking the community again. Thank you for the journey so far. Many, many more exciting events to come. And of course, thank you, Joris and Mark, for being here today together with me. This truly takes me back.
Yeah, thanks. And let's all build something awesome together.
Let's end on that high note. Thank you, everybody.
Do you look up at the stars? Are you afraid they might be looking back at you? Or does the sense of awe they instill overpower you? After a lifetime of being told, your path is the world. I once heard that in a foreign land. Assigned beliefs before I could parse syllables. It was only in these wondrous hills that I found providence. In these woods, you will discover your calling and raise your home. You will learn many truths, some that build your foundation and others that tear it down. You will find kindred spirits who you will take up arms with, conquer enemies alongside, and come to call family. I am Dalcor Kritana, Headmaster of Bulkhalter's Academy and Lord of Solarwood. Sons and daughters of Thaddeus, go forth and explore. Discover the secrets not only of this moon, but the universe, to reclaim humanity's former glory inch by inch. The world is not our path. It is only our beginning.